Do you think you inherited?
Well,
you don't
I've
think
read 2 books on Che Guevara.
Right.
And one book was written by a South American, so you got a real good view of Che. It wasn't written by a United States person with great bias.
Right.
You got it from a South American, which is Argentina's where Che was from. And Che had it. Che couldn't stay somewhere. I mean, he had it made in Cuba.
Right.
He was like God in Cuba.
Yeah, and he was handsomer than Fidel.
Well, and they put him up. He's there. I've been to Cuba.
Yeah, same.
He's on that building.
Oh, their
His
libraries.
face.
Their libraries start with books on Che and Fidel. There's no history before them.
Che didn't stay, did he?
They were heroes.
Che didn't stay, did he?
Kind of heroes. No. He needed something else. It's almost like that.
He couldn't stay.
It's like Brad Pitt in that movie.
He couldn't stay. And that's me. There's a times come on certain jobs I do where I can't stay no more.
Yeah.
That I gotta go on. I gotta move. I gotta keep going. Maybe I'm giving up the day that I say, okay, this is it.
Right.
I'm on the final Y in the road. But I ain't there yet, I don't think. I'm 70 now.
Wow.
But that's why I moved to Mexico 15 years ago.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Oh, yeah. I've been living in Mexico for 15 years every winter. I live an hour from pavement and an hour from electricity.
And do you feel like that's been beneficial?
I live off the grid.
Wow. Who do you take with you down there?
I take my pickup truck, my wife, and my dog.
And was there a reason you guys chose down that area? Was there...
No.
Yeah.
No, what happened on that deal was I had just come out of office and I needed a break of being governor. And I had just inked a huge contract with MSNBC, right? Mm-hmm. You notice I was never on?
I was going to say I'd never seen any clips of this, yeah.
No, because I was never on. The reason, we'll get back, but I'll cover this because I've covered it before. And I like people to know. But
So when you got to the end of your governorship,
oh yeah,
were you exhausted?
And I had signed with MSNBC.
Right.
Well, I got paid for 3 years and did nothing. And I got paid a lot of money. Why? Because I opposed the invasion of Iraq. They wouldn't put me on television.
Really?
Nobody was allowed on TV who opposed the invasion of Iraq. I'll give you the example. MSNBC when I got out of office, Fox, MSNBC, and CNN got in a bidding war for me. I was the voice of the independent.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%.
Voice of the independent. Don't belong to either party.
Yeah.
MSNBC won. I signed a 3-year contract with them. And I'll just state this. It was a contract that a professional sports athlete would get.
Wow.
Not $100 million.
Yeah.
But it was healthy.
Yeah.
It was very nice. I'll say that. And so I signed a 3-year contract with them, and we insisted that they were going to do my show in Minnesota. Because number one, I didn't want to leave here.
Of course not. Make it easy on yourself.
Yeah.
So you were living high.
And I had the power at that time. So I said, no, I want to do the show in Minnesota, and here's what I sold them on. Because all you people do is cover the coasts.
Yeah.
Nobody gets a Midwestern perspective of nothing, and we're the heart of America.
Amen.
We're the heart of America.
Amen.
So they agreed. So go over to Channel 2 here in the Twin Cities. I provided 30 jobs or something because they had to hire all these people to work on the show. So I provide all these jobs after I get out, right? And one of the jobs was to my head of communication when I was governor. He now stayed with me and was working on the show with me.
So did you go to one day of work at all?
No, wait now.
Okay, sorry.
So
You're easy. I don't have to ask you anything.
They send a producer out.
Okay.
From the base, MSNBC. So he's producing the show. We're getting all set to go on the air. Live audience now. We're going to have a live audience because I play better.
Yeah.
In front of live, and everything's ready to go. And all of a sudden we get a phone call. Here's the phone call. Oh, let me add, MSNBC had just hired Phil Donahue, the king of daytime. He was now on at night. He was their highest rated show.
Really?
Phil likewise opposed the invasion of Iraq and said it publicly. So had I. We get a phone call. John, my subordinate, took the call.
Guy?
I didn't get he got the call. Here's the call. This is so. Is it true Governor Ventura doesn't support the invasion of Iraq? John, oh no, he's vehemently opposed to it. He's a Vietnam veteran. He said this is Vietnam all over again. This is crap. This is nation building. They didn't attack us. Iraq didn't attack us on 9/11.
Yeah.
Why are we invading Iraq?
Yeah, a lot of people wondered.
And so then the next question, does Connecticut know about this? Well, here's the tie-in. MSNBC stood for Microsoft NBC at that time.
Okay.
It was a partnership between Microsoft and NBC.
Ah.
Who owned NBC at that time?
ESPN?
General Electric.
Oh, really?
General Electric is one of the biggest war profiteers in the world.
Damn.
They are the military-industrial complex and part of it.
Because they have all those contracts with them? Wow.
Everything is built by GE to go to war.
Yeah.
A lot of it, right?
Oh, I'll probably have a gun
So do
made by
they
them.
want one of their announcers on TV opposing a war?
Not a chance. Damn.
Exactly. So does Connecticut know about this? Was the second question. John responded, I don't know. Pause. Here's the big question. Is there any chance he'd change his mind?
Wow.
John said, I don't think so. He said, I've seen the governor change his mind because he wasn't educated on something well enough. And when he got educated, he took a different viewpoint.
Right.
But he said, this is war. He's a veteran. He's opposed to it. He's a Vietnam veteran. You ain't going to change his mind. Guess what? I didn't go on the air.
Wow.
And guess what? Phil Donahue got pulled.
Damn.
They pulled both of us. Have you ever heard of a network pulling their highest rated show?
No.
Never. But they did because they wanted no negative to invading Iraq on the mainstream media.
So that's how powerful those tie-ins are between
Yes.
like these companies and the corporations and the mainstream media.
And the government.
Yeah.
And the government.
So do you feel sometimes it used to feel like one thing that's tougher as I've learned more as I get older and just learn more. Sometimes it
You're going
almost
to find out you're going to learn even more.
sometimes I don't want to.
How old are you?
I'm 40 years old, man.
Oh, you got a lot of learning
Fuck, dude,
left,
no,
you
I don't
youngster.
want to anymore.
You're just beginning to
I
learn.
don't want to, man.
You're just beginning.
But I feel like
all
it's
you've done is
painful.
crack the door open a little.
But do you ever think sometimes that there's almost a more blissful value in not like they say knowledge is power, and sometimes it just almost hurts me sometimes the more I learn stuff. Sometimes it feels makes me feel debilitated sometimes.
But you have to know. You can't live a life, in my opinion, you can't live a life without truth. I finish every show I do. I always say, and always remember, people, when the government lies, the truth becomes a traitor. Now think of that quote. That's an original from me.
I'm thinking about it right now.
When the government lies, the truth becomes a traitor. In other words, they'll take the truth and put the truth in jail.
And make it the enemy. Wow.
And they'll make the truth the enemy. You see it all the time right now.
Well, I feel like that's never seemed more prevalent than right now, right?
Yep. And yet, I will back, there is good government.
Right.
Don't think for a moment that I'm not a Trumpy. I want you to know that right now. You know, I don't even want to get into my feelings on him.
Yeah, and
as an ex-military man.
Right. There's a lot to unpack there with that.
To me, January 6th was an attempted coup d'etat.
Really?
Absolutely. Look at what they're learning now.
Yeah.
They had the format all laid out.
Oh, yeah, it almost seemed like one of his shady contractors could have helped set it up.
Hillary Clinton lock her up.
Yeah.
There's the guy that belongs in jail.
Right.
Donald Trump. He tried to overthrow our country. He defied the Constitution.
Do you
now,
think...
I live by the Constitution.
Right.
That's the document I live by. If you don't like it, change it. But you got to have a set of rules.
Yeah.
Those are the rules. He broke them.
Yeah.
He broke the rules.
Yeah.
He should never be allowed to run again.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, he belongs in jail. Because people died that day.
Right.
On an insurrection to overturn our government.
Right.
It's that simple. And I don't care how these Republicans want to butter the bread. You're talking to the independent here.
Yeah.
And you know what part angered me the most?
What is it?
When I saw a Confederate flag carried through my Capitol.
Yeah. Well, does that make you feel
You know what I call the Republicans now? The Taliban.
Really?
They're the American Taliban, baby. And that's coming from Jesse the Body, the American Taliban. Well, look what they're doing in Texas.
Yeah. What?
Oh, where's women's rights?
Yeah.
The Taliban have got them down there. You know, they're taking away people's right to vote. Did you know it's easier to buy a gun in Texas than vote?
Yeah, that's insane.
That's insanity. You want the definition of insanity? There's a good one right there.
I feel like the news made things very confusing. The news started becoming like not information, and a lot of people got extremely scared and didn't know who to believe anymore.
Well, here you go. You want the answer to the news?
Yeah.
Jesse has it.
Yeah, I'd like I wouldn't mind a dose of it, man, because that's where I feel like a lot of bad information started.
The downfall of the news came with the show 60 Minutes. Now, you guys are all going to sit and go,
no,
what? How could you 60 Minutes? That's an award-winning investigative reporting show, which it is, and it's a great show.
Yeah, I used to love it.
It was a great show. Still is probably a great show. But 60 Minutes was the downfall of the American media.
Why, is that when they started editorializing it?
But prior to 60 Minutes, all the news lost money. And they made up for it in the entertainment division. And that was a standard rule. The news is to educate. The news is to do this. The news don't make money. It's to inform. Along came the show 60 Minutes. It shot to number one in the ratings. The bean counter's eyes got big, and they went, "You mean we can make money off the news?"
Yeah.
That's what 60 Minutes caused, making profit off the news. Then it became about ratings rather than informing. Now the news is nothing but entertainment.
Right. So
and
now
it's there to get ratings points. It's there to make money for advertisers.
Yeah.
Where in the days of Walter Cronkite, back when I was younger than you, the news lost money. You want the show that was so ahead of its time, the movie that it's scary today for me to watch it? Watch the show Network.
Yeah.
With Faye Dunaway, William Holden.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's good.
And Peter Finch won the Academy Award for playing Howard Beale.
Because he just got so real, and it changed everything.
No,
right?
That's where it became entertainment.
Right.
Remember, they brought Faye Dunaway in from entertainment to get the ratings.
She was the new producer.
And this was done before it ever happened to the news.
Yeah, they call up to her desk, and she's like,
was
"No,
done
let him go,
before
let him go."
They knew 60 Minutes had changed it.
Yeah.
So that movie, whoever wrote the script or whatever,
Can you ask them to shut that off?
was looking into the future and had their thumb right on the button.
Wow. So, okay. With that said, that's where I feel like, where do people go to get good information? And that becomes the scary part. That's how things. A lot of things become fragmented.
Remember when Larry King died?
Oh yeah.
Now Larry King was an icon.
I got to go on his show one time, man. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, Larry King, an icon. I did his show a number of times. I feel fortunate. Larry King talked to everyone.
Yeah.
Well, they did all these tributes to Larry, right? Which they should. Well deserved. But they left out the last 5 years of Larry's life. They stopped the tributes when he left CNN. Do you know where he went?
To OAN, right?
No, he went to where I work, Russian Television America.
Oh, really?
RT America. Larry King was there for
Aura.
over 5
years. Was he on
years.
Aura? Was it a branch of the same thing?
No, Aura was a podcast owned by Larry. I worked for him.
Oh, interesting.
I did a podcast called Off the Grid on Aura, where I did it from Mexico.
Oh, wow.
I'd come into town once a week, and they'd put me up at the hotel. I'd play 2 rounds of golf, and I'd do Aura and go back to my house. It was great.
So they quit supporting him whenever he went and did his own thing.
Larry worked for RT, Russian television. My Aura thing, I had a problem with them in negotiations. Russian TV came in and said, "We'll take you." So I went with RT America, where Larry was. For 5 years, Larry King worked at RT America. That is Russian Television America. And you know what he said? He said, "This is the most honest news people are going to get." And this came from the icon Larry King, who our mainstream media didn't want that quote out there, so they didn't cover the last 5 years of Larry's life. They made Larry retire after CNN. Larry wasn't retired. Larry was on every week like I am on RT America.
Yeah.
And before I signed with RT, they flew me and my wife to Moscow.
Really?
I went to their 10th anniversary of RT.
No.
I met Gorbachev that night, and Putin was the keynote speaker.
Wow.
And at the end of the night, Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, walked over to me. I didn't walk over to him. He walked over to me.
Did you stand up or you in your chair?
Absolutely. He's the president.
Yeah,
I stood up. He offered his hand. I shook his hand. Putin looked at me and said, "Thank you, Governor." And I said, "You're welcome, Mr. President." And then he said, "I want you to know, I will never interfere in your television show. You have complete control and complete artistic freedom." And I said, "Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate that." And guess what? I've been there 4 years now, and he's been a man of his word.
Have you?
He has never interfered in my show. Nobody tells me what I can say or can't say. They don't tell me what I can or can't talk about. Now, isn't it strange? I'm banned from TV in America.
Wow.
I'm banned, and that's because of my court case. They all came into my court case to have it overturned.
Oh, when you
The Chris Kyle mess.
Oh yeah.
The lie about me.
Yeah.
The Chris Kyle lie.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Well, what people don't know at two judges at the Court of Appeals broke two of their own rules and sided with the media and overturned my case, breaking their rules to do it.
So how do we defeat?
And in doing so, where can I go to work?
Yeah.
These people they interfered in my court case. So I work for RT now, and they're the best. Do you know what they did for me? They were sending me to a studio, right? Mm-hmm. And Misha, my boss, he goes, that's expensive and it's really out of the way for you. He's a Russian. Mm-hmm. He said, "Do you have room in your house?" I said, "Sure." I said, "I got a bedroom down in my basement. I kind of call it my trophy room. I keep all my trophy paraphernalia down there in the corner of the house. Nobody can see it unless I take them down there." He said, "Could we put a studio in there?"
Wow.
I said, "Sure." All of a sudden, Amazon boxes start arriving at my house. Technicians come. They took out all the permits. They wire me up. Ba-boom, ba-boom. The cameras, the lights. I now do my show from my basement.
That's awesome.
I'm in Minneapolis. They're in D.C. and my partner's in L.A.
Yeah.
And they have the capability now that we can do a complete show and never even be in the same city with each other. That's something, the technology.
Amazing. Well, it's amazing. I mean,
and so that's how I do my show. I walk downstairs.
Is it strange that it's a Russian company and that they're making
Well, they're technically not. They're an American company.
Right. I'm just wondering, is there any
But you know what I have to do? Because I work for them. Wait till you hear this bullshit. Because I work for them, I have to file as a foreign agent.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Huh. Now they don't make people on Al Jazeera do that. They don't make people on any of these. The BBC don't have to do that.
So the IRS is making you do that?
No, the government.
Oh, the government's making you do that?
Not the IRS.
Okay.
IRS has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
It's the government. We have to file with the Department of Justice
because
as foreign
it's
agents. Now, I take offense to that.
Yeah.
I'm born and raised here. I'm a United States citizen. I've been a mayor. I've been a governor. I'm an honorably discharged Vietnam veteran, and I have paid taxes to this country my entire adult life, unlike Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I pay my taxes.
Yeah.
I participate. I don't cheat. So, having said that, I'm now considered a foreign agent.
Right. Damn. I used to feel like as a kid, like there was this American dream. There was this red, white, and blue thing, and we're all part of this group. And sometimes I feel like I don't feel that way anymore sometimes. And it's not like I don't know if it's a choice I'm making not to feel that way.
You know what made me change? Way back when during Vietnam, when I saw the draft. It was the draft. Because the rich kids didn't have to go.
Yeah.
Donald Trump got bought his way out of it.
Yeah.
He was going to get drafted, and his dad went and paid off, and he got bone spurs. Really? He's never missed a round of golf.
He probably got him in his penis, I bet.
No, bone spurs in his feet.
Yeah.
And yet I've never seen him miss a round of golf.
Could you imagine him though with a weapon?
Those bone spurs would be painful. How the hell could he play golf?
He'd bring a sand wedge
What a
to the front
gutsy guy.
line. Yeah.
What a gutsy to withstand that pain and swing that golf club. I mean, there's a true tough leader, isn't that, you know?
Do you feel like the leadership that we have in now is...
No. They're all as bad. The Dems and Repubs. I side with Ralph Nader, who called it correctly when he said we're under the rule of a two-party dictatorship.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because you notice there's no problem passing the defense bill.
Right.
Boy, they all jump on board for that, don't they?
Because they're all making money on it,
Ain't no
right?
argument about that. How about the latest? Did you hear the latest? Where 31 of them, they passed a law in 2012. They are not allowed to trade stocks on the stock market and invest, right? 31 of them just got caught for insider trading.
Wow.
You know what the biggest penalty they're going to face? A $200 fine.
Yeah.
After they probably made hundreds of thousands on the stock market, they'll pay a $200 fine. But that is against the law, and the point is all 37 of these people should be made to resign right now.
Yeah, agreed.
And I'll tell you why. Because it is so basic that when you get elected, you do not make decisions and do not to profit yourself.
Right.
And when you're doing insider trading that nobody else knows about but you,
It's cheating.
that's cheating and that's illegal,
Yeah.
and people go to prison for it. And 37 of our illustrious elected officials, you notice how these guys go in there, they're not millionaires, many of them, but they all come out millionaires.
Yeah.
Well, those jobs don't pay that much. I'll tell you this, that's the reason one of the major reasons I didn't seek a second term as governor. You know how much money I was making?
Probably $2,000 a week. How much? 25?
No, I'll tell you exactly. Okay, the governor got paid $120,000 a year.
Okay, so about
All
2,000
right?
a week.
Now they're going to take taxes out.
Right.
Okay. Well, I also get deducted mileage for the official governor's car, unless during the workday. So to and from the Capitol, I have to pay for it till I get to the Capitol. So I went to them and said, well, okay, I'll drive my private car to the Capitol, and then I'll get in the governor's car, and I won't get docked money. Public safety comes in, it's a catch-22. You can't do that. Why? Well, that's the car with all the protection and the radios and all this. So they make you ride in the car and then charge you for it.
Oh, damn.
And it don't end there. The governor's
Uber.
residence, every meal that me and my family ate there was deducted from my paycheck. I had to turn in weekly things on how many meals were served to me and my family at the governor's residence, unless it was official state business. So that would get deducted. It ended up, okay, get ready. Now I'm in charge of a $16 billion budget, right? I was clearing at best $60,000 a year.
Wow.
Now, Jesse Ventura has a lifestyle that if I'm making $60,000 a year, I'm sinking.
Yeah.
I'm not even treading water.
Right.
I'm sinking.
Yeah.
You know, and that was one of the major, and I wouldn't corrupt. I suppose I could have been corrupt, and who knows what I might have made and what kind of job I would have gotten after I got out, because, you know, they always seem to land on their feet with some real great paying job.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody can, you know, the greatest thing I got getting out of office, the thing I hold in the highest esteem, I got to be a fellowship professor at Harvard. 2004. And they said, how would you like to teach in the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University?
Oh, that's sweet.
And I turned to my wife, I said, is this for frickin' real? I said, I only went to high school.
Yeah.
I went in the Navy out of high school. They're asking me to come and teach at Harvard. And so I took it for the whole year. They paid me a stipend. I got paid every month. They moved me into an apartment on the business school right on campus.
Cool.
And I would walk across the Charles River every morning to an office I had. I learned how to do the computer there, and I actually sent an email. And then as soon as I left Harvard, I forgot the computer and haven't sent an email since. So Harvard taught me that, and I quickly forgot it. Do you know I've never owned a cell phone?
Really?
Mm-mm. And I've made it my life's mission now. I will not own one. I will do everything in my power not to get one. I may be the only person on the planet that can write that.
Damn.
Although I am running into some people that say their grandparents
are holding out.
Yeah, they're holding out. So I got to outlive them.
You also started.
That's my key now. I got to outlive the elderlies. But no, I've
Hire
never.
a hitman.
And people have said to me, "Well, how could you be governor?" Simple, and it was even better. I had 2 bodyguards 24/7. They had them.
Yeah.
So they screen calls.
Oh,
Anybody
nice.
wants to talk to me, they call them. They cover. Governor so-and-so is calling. Oh, tell him I'll call him back at 5, that I'm busy right now, but I will get back to him. I'm sorry, the governor is not available right now, but he is aware of your situation and said he'll get back to you at 5 o'clock today.
Nice.
Okay, very good, thank you. That way you got a built-in call screener. Do you know what else is BS?
I hope they are.
You know what else is? Here's what ticks me off now. You got this whole thing in schools where they don't want to teach the truth.
Yeah.
They don't want to teach the truth now. They want to gloss it over so the white people can feel good.
Yeah.
Right? It's ridiculous. Do you know what I learned now, too? For years we celebrate Columbus Day. Mm-hmm. He discovered America. And I ding myself in the head and go, it took me how long to realize, how can you discover something if there's already somebody there?
Right.
You didn't discover nothing. There was already people there.
But why did we used to have it that way then? It was just an easy way to explain it? It's all we knew?
No, it's because they didn't have a flag.
Oh.
You got to have a flag, man. You got to buy Eddie Izzard will tell you that. You know Eddie Izzard?
Yeah.
Watch Eddie. Eddie will explain it.
You got to have
a flag, man. You got to have a flag. But no, getting back to it again, where are we going now? I'm getting old now. Oh, I know, Columbus. So not only did Columbus not discover America, you know what else was total BS we got taught?
What was it?
That he went there believing the earth was flat.
Oh, that's a lie?
That's a complete lie. Neil shows where they knew centuries before Columbus that the world wasn't flat.
Damn, bro.
But yet in all our school books, that's what we read. Oh, Columbus discovered America, and they sent him to find out because they were terrified he was going to fall off the end of the earth. It was flat.
Oh, I remember our teacher even made a thing where he went up the side and then turned onto the corner.
Get Neil's book. He lays it right out when we knew the world wasn't flat. Damn. And it happened literally probably 800 years before Columbus even sailed. Oh. They knew that scholars knew the earth was not flat.
Yeah. I think sometimes.
So why were we taught that bullshit?
Okay, that's a good question.
That's
Probably
what I want to know. Why?
To make it
easy. You know what
easy?
angered me? Here's what's got me in a roar about this and why I'm saying you teach it. It took me 69 years to learn that we massacred black people in Tulsa.
Yeah. Well, I guess
I learned that last year.
I
was 69 years old when I learned that.
Right.
That is the first I have known of that in 69 years on this planet.
Yeah.
I got angry. Why wasn't I taught about that in school?
Right.
Why is that not written in a... Well, here's one for you. Did you know there was a coup d'etat attempt on President Roosevelt by Wall Street?
I believe it.
Because it's been eradicated, erased, set aside. Major General Smedley Butler saved our country.
Damn.
The 2-time Congressional Medal of Honor winner. He was handpicked, chosen to be the president.
Damn, young goat.
But you know what Smedley did? Smedley went in front of Congress and ratted him. He whistle blew him. Smedley said, FDR's my president. I'm a Republican. He's a Democrat. He's a 2-time Congressional Medal of Honor Marine General. Smedley goes, he's still my president. Even though I'm in a different party, this is treason.
Right.
And he turned these guys over, all the Rothschild, all these names, these big names on Wall Street.
Bro. That's
they
rich
had
people.
handpicked Smedley Butler. Why? Because FDR was bringing in these socialist programs. What does Wall Street fear? Anything that's socialist. And we here in the U.S. fear everything socialist, don't we? Yet, here's one for you guys. Time to learn from Jesse. Our biggest part of our budget that you and I pay taxes on is for total socialism.
Like
you
how?
know what that is? The Department of Defense.
Yeah.
That's total socialism at its finest. So you have socialism protecting the capitalism.
Damn, it's a dark art.
And yet people are telling you, I'm scared. They're turning the country socialist.
Right.
Well, what you need, if you have all capitalism, you're going to fail. We saw that on Wall Street.
I think we're still seeing it now.
Cheat. You have to have a balance.
Yeah.
You have to achieve a balance between capitalism and socialism that raises the most people up.
Right. I got a couple of questions these are things that I think people need to hear, and hearing it from you I think are very important.
All right.
You talk a lot about how like the two-party system, how it's one of the things that's definitely failing us, and you've been an example of being an independent, right?
Yeah.
What don't people understand about even just voting for an independent, whether you even almost believe in them or not? What can that do to change the current system that we have? Like,
well, really, truthfully, it's simplicity, I think, in voting. And if everyone would just stick to the simplicity of it, vote your conscience. Don't pick a winner. Your job when you vote isn't to go there to vote for who you think's going to win. Your job in voting is to go there and pick out the candidate whom you think would best represent your point of view.
Yeah.
And vote for that person. If that person gets beat, you still did your civic duty. You voted. Now, if you vote for someone else, you're selling out.
Yeah.
If you vote like if you find some third person who thinks way more like you and has better ideas that you go with, but yet you still vote, but, well, he can't win. Well, one thing I proved is, if you get the most votes, you can win.
Yeah.
It just takes getting the most votes.
Right.
It was like when I ran, they told me, this is back in 98, they told me, forget the young people. They don't vote. I told them, book me at every college in the state of Minnesota.
Yeah.
And they said, you're wasting your time, the guys with the... I said, no, I ain't.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you why. They said, why? I said, because the college kids have never had Jesse the Body to vote for. Are you kidding me? Yeah. So they booked me in all the colleges. I'd go there, packed to the hilt. Kids hanging off the rafters. Yeah. You know when I knew I was going to win? And they were your age, because you're talking 20 years ago. Wow. So this is your generation. Here's when I knew I was going to win that day. We got there the morning of the election, and at the University of Minnesota, they said the lines to register were longer than the lines to vote, because in Minnesota we have same-day registration.
Nice.
And the lines to register were longer than the lines to vote.
Wow.
That's when I knew we're going to win, because they ain't coming out to vote for a Democrat or Republican. They're already registered. These are new people. And it ended up, I was polling 10%. Mm-hmm. It was not a presidential, so they predicted a 50% voter turnout, non-presidential, which is pathetic.
Right.
But it still leads the nation. Minnesota does every year.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Us in Maine, we battle it out for the most percentage to vote. Well,
so people here come out and vote.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. And what happened was they predicted a 50% voter turnout because it wasn't presidential, so a lot of people stay home. It ended up 60. I was polling 27% the day before. I ended up winning with 37 because remember, there's 3 people now. So the percentages change. I had 37, the Republican had 34, the Dem ended up with 28. Yeah. But my 27 to 37 was the 10% they didn't expect to show up.
Yeah.
Because they predicted a 50% voter turnout. It turned out it was 60. And those 10 came voting for me. Well, I'll never forget the headline in the Minneapolis paper, Ventura wins. Sub-headline underneath, remember I told you about the colleges? Mm-hmm. throngs of young voters turn out. Throngs. That was the term they used.
It's like you sliding in the ring with a chair, dude,
Well,
at the end.
it was like I went out and see, getting back to your original question, third party. That's what that's what you've got to tap into to beat them.
Right.
You're not going to beat their bases.
Right.
You've got to but most people are independent. You know what angers me right now the most of anything? Our country is being governed and stopped from doing anything by those 50 people in the Senate, the 50 Republicans, right?
I don't know.
Well, then they got to do that shit they call where you need 60 votes or whatever. What do you mean you don't know? You better start knowing.
I'm trying to. That's why I'm talking to you.
50 Republicans block everything, right?
Okay.
Here's what pisses me off. Because there's an equal amount of senators, 2 in each state.
Yeah.
Do you know those 50 Republicans, how much of the population they actually represent, and they're stopping the rest of the country? Mm-hmm. They represent 21% of the population.
Wow.
Because you have states like North and South Dakota that have the same Senate, 2 people, as California, as New York. So they have equal to them. They can stop them. That's insane. Now, it was initially, I know why it was done, so it was equality amongst the 13 original states.
Right.
But when California has a huge population and New York has a huge population, how can they be equal to South Dakota?
Oh, it isn't?
Nope, none of it. Today, my view today is I'm so anti-war.
Really?
Yep.
But at the time, you had a different perception.
Had to.
Yeah.
Had to. But today, it's all... Tell me one war we've been in since World War II
I agree.
that accomplished something.
Yeah.
Tell me one. Ain't any. Tell me one that accomplished something.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
Why were they fought? I don't know. I'll finish with this. My mother and father are both World War II veterans.
Yeah.
My mom was a nurse in North Africa. That predated Normandy.
Wow.
Not many can say their mom. And my mom was actually injured and sent back home.
Jeepers.
In North Africa as a nurse. And my dad was under Patton, had 6 Bronze Battle Stars. North Africa, Normandy, Battle of the Bulge, Remagen Bridge, Anzio, and Berlin, and lived.
Jeepers. Jesus.
Right? Those are my parents. Now you kind of understand, but they weren't warmongers. They were nothing like that. But now you kind of understand why I went in the service.
Yeah.
Everyone in my family went in the service. It was kind of just what you did. And my parents never pushed us. In fact, my dad, I came home from high school, and my dad was home. World War II vet, 6 Bronze Battle Stars. And I come home and told my dad, Dad, we got to fight in Vietnam. My dad goes, why? Why do you think that? I said, we have to stop the domino effect of communism. If we don't stop them there, the communism's going to go all over the world. This is what
that's what they thought. India, everywhere.
Right? You know what my dad did? He looked at me and he said, is that what they're teaching you in school? I said, yeah. My dad looked at me and said, that's the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever heard.
Wow.
Now imagine what I went through right there. My father's telling me my teachers are bullshitting me. I respected my teachers. And here's my dad telling me they're giving me a line of bullshit. My dad looked at me and said, we're not there to stop communism. He said, we're there because somebody's making big money. Mm. Well, when I was fortunate to come home, and I was fortunate that my second deployment, they had pulled us out. You know, I was at the very tail end, February 71 till November 71. And I was able to come home to my dad and say, guess what, Dad? You were right. Mm. And my dad looked at me and said, well, I always knew I was right. I said, sometimes you just have to learn things the hard way. He said, I did what I felt I had to do to tell you the truth. The rest was up to you.
Wow.
But I mean, my dad was against the Vietnam War before the hippies.
Damn.
And here's so you'll find that many veterans like myself are the most anti-war people.
Wow.
Because they know it doesn't accomplish nothing. And my dad fought in the Popular War.
Jesus.
The one that was the Great War.
Yeah.
You know, the one that stopped Hitler.
Yeah.
I might add, too, anyone that studies Hitler in 30s Germany, take a look at Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Same playbook. Same playbook as Hitler's Germany. And he's doing it right now.
Yeah.
And this country's so stupid, they're falling for it. The guy's a con man, and a good one, because he's got a lot of smart people that have drank the Kool-Aid, for lack of better. He's Jim Jones. You know?
They're all. Do you feel like so many politicians are con men, though, huh?
He's not a politician.
Right. That's a good point. That's a good point.
And also, too, you know how The Rock has said he might run and all this? What people need to understand is this. Yes, Jesse Ventura won. But they need to understand Jesse Ventura has done 14 years of public service.
Right.
Donald Trump had done none.
Yeah.
The Rock, to my knowledge, I love The Rock, but he's done none.
Right.
I was in the military 6 years, so I understand that part.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
That's public service.
Right. You were a mayor.
I was a mayor of the 6th largest city for 4 years, and I was a governor for 4 years. So I've every branch of government. So I have experience in the public sector.
Yeah.
These guys don't, and here's the big difference, and I'll end with this. The difference is this. The private sector is for profit. The public sector is to provide services. There's a big difference. These guys that come from the private sector bring only expertise at making profit. They don't bring the expertise at providing public service.
Yeah.
Government is public service. It's to provide for the masses.
Yeah.
The good of the many, not the good of the few, and not the good of the elite or the rich. It's to the masses. These guys have Donald Trump had no experience.
Especially not, I don't think,
of helping anyone
people.
But himself.
I would agree with that.
You know, and that's how come he came in and governed the same way.
Yeah.
And why people think he's the Messiah. I've had people, you know, I'm agnostic atheist, right? I've had people tell me Donald Trump is a good Christian.
Yeah.
You know what I responded with? Well, if he's a good Christian, I'm glad I'm not. You know, if that's what a good Christian is,
you don't want any part.
I don't want no part of it.
You don't want no part of it.
Because he'd sell his soul to rock and roll, baby. He'll sell out. Look at what he's done to all the people around him. Well, if you don't kowtow to him, he sells you out on the river, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so many of those guys, it's the dark arts, man. I just wonder, how do we get out of the system? How do we break this?
Don't vote for Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, agree.
It's as simple as the nose on your face,
Yep.
But it's as difficult as climbing Mount Everest.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And especially, let me throw this out, here's one that goes beyond my belief. When you have a state like I said, the Taliban's in Texas now. I call Texas the home of the United States Taliban. Mm-hmm. Because do you know right now it's easier to buy a gun in Texas than vote?
Man.
Now, isn't there something inherently wrong with that?
Yeah.
You can buy a gun in Texas easier than you can vote.
Jeepers.
Nobody's going to ID you for the gun.
Yeah.
You can walk in anywhere in Texas and buy a gun. But if you got to vote, you got to register, jump through hoops. They've closed voting places. You maybe have to drive 30 miles.
Yeah.
Can't mail nothing in anymore. You know, none of that. We will have. And you know there's no voter fraud. I can tell you, I knew that. When I got into office in Minnesota, we did a huge study. And it came back nothing significant.
Yeah.
And all the things they've caught now, the only votes they've caught have been votes for Trump that were illegal.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a lot of...
Here's the part that makes me laugh. Who do they think is out organizing voter fraud?
Yeah.
And for what purpose? You got local people that volunteer their good time to be independent and count these votes like great American citizens, and then you got the Trumpies telling them they're all a bunch of crooks.
Yeah.
How dare these Trumpies say that?
Well, I think
they have no proof.
I think
there is none.
I think there's no way to determine if those people counting the votes what their allegiances are.
Both are there.
Right.
Both are represented. They're,
well, if
they're
that's
not
the truth,
done
then,
behind closed doors.
Yeah, then that makes.
And they had that phony recount in Arizona.
Yeah.
Biden won.
Yeah.
Even when they hired their hired guns to come in and hopefully switch it over so they'd have an argument.
Yeah, none of that amounted to anything.
Well, 60 court cases all thrown out.
Yeah.
Rudy Giuliani getting disbarred in some states now because he brought these lawsuits or brought things to court with no evidence, which they do have rules, as a lawyer. You can't just bring frivolous things forward. You got to have evidence.
Yeah.
They had no evidence of nothing.
Yeah.
And yet people have bought into it and said it happened.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
That is interesting. I don't know. It's funny to know how involved people are, what people are trusting these
Have any
days.
of you ever met anyone that committed voter fraud? All your years on the planet? Ever talked to anyone about doing it?
I don't know. I never have.
No.
I've done almost every crime.
We got 4 people in the room, and it's only come to light in the last year or two. Voter fraud.
That's a good point.
Nobody cared. Nobody. Any other election, and Trump gave us a preview because remember, all leading up to the election, he was setting himself up if he lost.
Yeah.
Oh, if I lose, it's because it's rigged.
Yeah.
Remember, he started that early on out. I'll tell you, the person that knows him forward and backwards is that niece of his. Have you seen her?
Oh, is she a real dime? Is that Ivanka?
No, no, his niece.
One of them is fine as
She's
hell.
a Trump. She's a psychologist, legit.
Oh, is she?
Went to college. She gets on TV and dissects his brain. Everything she said about him is exactly what happens.
Interesting.
She said he will never admit losing the election, no matter what.
Yeah, that's a lot of his thing.
Never.
Is no admission of
Never will admit it.
Of defeat.
And then he's got all these people out there that are buying the Kool-Aid. Like, this guy's a hero. Come on.
I don't know why. I think different people like him for different reasons.
This guy ran from the draft.
Yeah.
He bought his way. Now, I look up to Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali ran from the draft. You know what the difference is, though? You know what the difference is? Ali was willing to go to jail for his beliefs. Trump wasn't. Trump bought his way out. Trump faced no charges.
Yeah.
Trump
that's rich
rigged
people,
the system,
man.
Rigged the system.
That's rich people.
But see, Ali, and Ali had it made. They already told him, you're going to do nothing but what Joe Louis did. You'll go down, you'll do exhibitions. Ali wasn't going to get, he knew they were going to use him to get black kids to volunteer to send to Vietnam, and he was going to have none of it. Mohammed was not going to be the catalyst that sent his black kids. People have asked me if I've ever used the N-word.
Yeah.
And I have to admit I have.
Yeah,
I used it. No, I used it when I quote Ali.
Oh, wow.
I quote Muhammad Ali, and he used it. So if he can use it, I can quote him.
Yeah. That's
fair.
fair.
And he said it about the Viet Cong. Remember, he said, no, Viet Cong never called me the N-word.
Oh, wow.
No, I remember when Muhammad said that to the press, ain't no Viet Cong. What do I want to fight these people for? Ain't no Viet Cong ever called me
the N-word.
The N-word. And so Muhammad wouldn't get sucked in to bring in all the other blacks so they could kill them in Vietnam and send them, because blacks were very much disproportionately represented in Vietnam.
Really? They didn't have a lot of them?
What was our black population then? Maybe 10, 11%? Was it even that high?
And what percent were in Vietnam?
Way more.
Really?
Sure.
Because
the people that serve like that are the poor people.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a lot of Latino. It's a lot of Mexican and black. It's a lot of poor white.
In my neighborhood in South Minneapolis, I grew up in South Minneapolis by the Lake Street Bridge, where what's-his-name died, is my old neighborhood.
Wow.
Is all through there.
Yeah.
George Floyd.
Yeah.
Well, if you grew up there, you maybe had to go to work.
Right.
Well, then you went to Vietnam. I have all sorts of friends that got drafted.
Yeah.
But again, if you lived out at Lake Minnetonka or Edina, you didn't see Vietnam. You went to college. You got deferments.
Yeah.
See, it was so unfair.
These days, the actual people aren't having a chance in their own life, even almost in their own safety out there.
The whole war thing is sad because we spend all our money in preparation for war. I mean, everyone's bitching about Biden's $3.5 trillion being too much. It's too much to spend that on us. They have no problem spending that in Afghanistan.
Right.
Had no problem spending it in Iraq. But yet here they're going to spend it on people in the United States and there's an outrage.
Yeah.
It's too much. Too much money for us.
Yeah.
It's our money, but it's too much for us. Oh, God, don't give it to us. Don't help out Americans.
Yeah.
Certainly we could ship it off to a war and build a nation somewhere. You know, we could spend trillions like we did in Afghanistan and Iraq. And what do we have to show for it? Zilch.
Not a ton.
You know, but oh God, no, don't. That's way big to price tag. Us Republicans aren't going to stand for that.
That's a good point, man.
You know, you're spending the money on us, on people of America, jobs programs, and you know, leave so women can work and for kids and babies and all. Oh God, we don't want to spend money on that when we can spend money on a new aircraft carrier.
Yeah, that's crazy, huh?
You know. Jesus, come on. The thrill for me was being able to go to Harvard. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you this, too. Maybe they've been broken now, but I had the largest classes in Harvard history.
Damn.
They had to move me into the Commons because my classes were open to everybody. And so, they had to move me in the Commons because there was the place would just fill up.
Oh, dude, you're like you remind me of like Christopher Lloyd if he had big fucking balls, you know?
Yeah, well, and it was fun. It was fun for me to be able to go there and influence kids who I know are going to end up probably being important.
Right.
You know, because of where they go to school and everything like that. And it's like when Muhammad Ali went and spoke at a Harvard graduation.
Wow.
You know, and
I need to go back and listen to some of that stuff.
And you know, Muhammad, when he spoke at the Harvard graduation, he set the world's record for the shortest poem.
Damn.
He did.
What it was, you remember?
Yeah. He was speaking at the graduates of Harvard. I heard the story told. And somebody in the crowd yelled out, "Give us a poem." And Ali looked at the crowd, and it was the shortest. It should be the shortest in history. He went, "Me, we."
It's all right.
And that's the shortest poem in history.
Me, we.
Me, we. And Ali did that off his top of his head.
Oh, that's interesting.
And the guy who talked about it was Plimpton, I think it was. I heard
George Plimpton?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
He was talking, or it was either him or another one of them famous writers. And they said, they looked it up and they said that would qualify as because the one before had 3 syllables.
Damn.
Ali's had 2. And then the one that was listed as the record had 3 syllables.
He was a real master.
You know, I was lucky I got to spend a day with him.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What'd y'all do? Did y'all go to dinner?
No. Sat in his house in Barron Springs. I didn't want to go to no frickin' dinner.
Yeah.
I was in his house all day with just his people and me and my people. And because the story is when I won the governor, I got up and I talked that night about that I was a young kid when Muhammad Ali, then Cassius Clay, beat Sonny Liston for the world title. I said nobody believed that Cassius would win, now Ali. And I said that night, he said he shocked the world. Well, I said tonight, we shocked the world.
Gang.
Don't end there. I'm the governor-elect. I'm in the bowels of the Capitol, haven't taken over yet, and a business friend of mine, Harvey McKay, shows up on my schedule for 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And Harvey walks in. I said, "Harvey, what are you doing here?" He said, "I brought you something," and he had a big box. Better open it. I opened the box up. On the inside was a pair of Everlast boxing gloves.
Oh, wow.
I hate this part because...
It makes you sad?
Well, he's my hero.
Oh, yeah.
The boxing gloves said to Governor Ventura, "You shock the world. Muhammad Ali, he was watching that night. Sorry. He was watching that night, and he took the time. And that's what set up for me to come visit him.
Wow.
And when I went to visit him, he was, of course, stricken with the Parkinson's. But his wife, Lonnie, said to me, she said, you know, Muhammad wouldn't take his medicine last night. And I said, why? She said, because it slows him down, and he didn't want to be slow. He was so excited you were coming today. And I thought, Muhammad Ali is excited that I'm coming to see him? Give me a break. You know?
What made you so happy that he was proud of you?
Because he's my hero.
Yeah.
He's a guy who, if you read his biography, he developed his whole style from pro wrestling.
Oh, wow.
And he battled the system. He was a man who stood up for what he believed in and was willing to pay the price for it. And I don't think there's a better hero you can have in the world. And so he's my hero. He always was. He always will be. And I think it kind of shocked Muhammad because do you want to hear what I did for him that day?
Yeah, I would like to hear that.
And this will be the ending. I don't know if your tape's still running.
We might be out of tape. That's okay.
Here's what I looked at him and I said, I Am the Greatest by Cassius Clay. This is the legend of Cassius Clay, the most beautiful fighter in the world today. He talks a great deal and brags indeedy of a muscular punch that's incredibly speedy. The fistic world was dull and weary. With a champ like Liston, things had to be dreary. Then someone with color, someone with dash, brought fight fans a-running with cash. This brash young boxer is something to see, and the heavyweight championship is his destiny. This kid fights great, he's got speed and endurance. But if you sign to fight him, increase your insurance. This kid's got a left, this kid's got a right. If he hits you once, you're asleep for the night. And as you lie on the floor while the ref counts 10, you pray that you won't have to fight me again. For I am the man this story's about. I'll be champ of the world, there isn't a doubt. Here I predict Mr. Liston's dismemberment. I'll hit him so hard, he'll wonder where October and November went. Here I predict, and I know the score, I'll be champ of the world in 64. Now, that's off memory.
Yeah. That's your hero.
Tell me he didn't. And when I did that for him, he had tears in his eyes because I think he thought, what the hell would a little white boy in South Minneapolis? And you know where that's from? He did an album way back called I Am the Greatest. Disc, where he's standing there with his foot up and holding a fist. I Am the Greatest by Cassius Clay. I used to listen to that album day in and day out.
Wow.
As a young 10, 11-year-old kid who wanted to be a fighter and ended up a wrestler.
Yeah. You ended up pretty close, though.
Well, Muhammad learned from Gorgeous
Wrestling?
George.
No, it's interesting.
Yeah. No, he said he went to an interview once, and it was him and Gorgeous George. And he sat and listened, and he was early in his career, and he heard Gorgeous George bragging away and doing what wrestlers do. Well, Muhammad said that night I was boxing in front of 20 people. He said Gorgeous George was wrestling in front of 5,000.
Wow.
Light went off. Muhammad said, you got to sell yourself here. You got to do what these wrestlers do. And that's when he started naming the round.
Yeah.
They all must fall in the round I call. They all must lose in the round I choose. You know, and he started predicting his knockouts, and then he did it.
Speaking things into existence, too. It's kind of wild.
That's what really got him going. He then did it.
Yeah.
You know. But no, Ali was bigger than life, really, for what he stood for. And, you know, this kid from Louisville who rose up and learned and wouldn't be manipulated, and he stood for what he believed, and he wouldn't compromise. And I'd like to believe that everything I do is very much in that aspect for me too, and then if whatever I do, I'd make him proud, you know. And we ran into each other later out in L.A. I saw Lonnie at the hotel in Beverly Hills. I looked over and said, Lonnie, what are you doing here? Jesse, I said, is Muhammad here? She goes, oh, yeah, he's up. She told me before. She said, go up. He'd love to see you.
Wow.
So I ran to the other. It's that hotel that's on both sides of the street. I ran to the other one, got in the elevator, went up there. She told me the door, rang the doorbell up there. And I'll never forget this young black kid opened the door. He saw it was me, and his jaw dropped, and he was frozen. And I looked at the black kid, and I thought, you're frozen looking at me, and you're in a room with Muhammad Ali? Something wrong with this picture. Are you kidding me? No, this kid was all, Jesse Ventura. So I came in, and Muhammad and I hugged and talked and had a good little thing there, and the car was coming for him. He was doing something or other, and and I was out there doing business or whatever, and then later, of course he died and all of that, but he'll live forever.
Yeah.
I think he'll live as long as I'm around, because
he's alive in the story. I mean, he lives through stories, he lives through lore.
Even my dad knew a lot about boxing. He fought a little himself and all that, the World War II vet. My dad gave in to me in the end. You know what he said? He said, that Clay kid, he said, he's the best ever.
Wow. And
I said, why is that, Dad? Why'd you say that? And my dad died in 91. And I said, Dad, how come now you say that Muhammad's the best ever? He said, I'll tell you why. He said, speed. He said, no heavyweight has ever had the speed that guy had with his legs and his hands. He said he'd have beat them all. And my dad grew up with Dempsey. He grew up with all the greats. But he said Ali to beat them all. He said there was no way they could have contended with his speed. And he proved it. Well, he proves the opposite to George Foreman. Yeah. He got George with rope-a-dope.
Yeah. Oh, he's remarkable to watch, man.
Changed his whole style and got George to punch himself out.
He's one of a kind.
And Big George did. And George ended up being a hell of a guy after that. George Foreman's, he went into depression, I heard, for 2 years, but when he came out of it, George Foreman's one of the most likable guys in the world now.
Amen.
And today he just says, I just thank goodness I fought Ali.
Wow.
He took me to elements I'd have never got to.
Well, you doing that for us, Jesse. We thank you so much for your time. Jesse the Body Ventura, thank you so much for being here today, man.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Have a good